would ask you not to digitalize my image. I don't want to have my body digitalized, so if you could not take any pictures, that would be nice. I would appreciate that a lot. Actually, I'm collaborating with Realtech, which is kind of sibling project maybe of CommonsCloud. So we are doing trainings there about digital security and all these social issues also, no? like gender issues related to technology, no? And different aspects of technopolitics. So I will talk from this point of view. And yeah, I think like this kind of environments, like this one, like free software people, we already know a lot how this global digital capitalism works, right? So maybe I will not focus that much on this, but some other aspects that sometimes we forget. Okay, so the first question, maybe you have seen it already. Okay, it's in Spanish. Someone can translate it? Can volunteer?
Spanish or Catalan?
No, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, it's in Catalan.
You translated to Catalan.
Yeah, yeah. I was expecting to speak in Spanish, so, or Catalan. Okay, yeah. Would you accept a beer or a drink from some unknown person in a disco? No? Assuming that you're a woman, especially if you're a woman. If you're a guy, maybe it's not that dangerous, but if you're a woman, would you accept a free beer from unknown person?
No.
Depends on the context, no? But like the person that you don't know anything about, and it's like maybe very hard disco that many weird people go there.
A beer, and if it's closed, yes.
If it's closed,
If it's closed,
yes.
yeah.
Well, with software it's maybe the other way around. If it's closed, we don't trust that much, no? Okay, so the thing is that we would think twice. At least we would think twice. If you're a girl, you would be sure that you don't accept that, right? With your children, I think you have children, so you know that you say to your children, don't take anything from strangers. Yeah. So the question is why sometimes we do. What is the difference? Why sometimes we accept this free beer? And the difference is that it's not a total stranger. Usually these are people that we know they are doing some evil things.
He didn't want to say his address in the Congress of the US last week when he was in the hearing. This guy, he didn't want to say his address.
He didn't want to.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, do you know the answer why we do accept these free drinks that easily? Do you accept actually these free drinks so easily? Personally, in your life? I don't mean this guy especially. There are different guys that you can put different photos there. Do you? Well, this is like a real question, right?
No.
Do you use like Facebook, Google?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are like these free drinks I'm talking about. So yeah, what are those free drinks or free services? No, free like a free beer, of course. And where does it come from? No, like why? How come is it free? No. So probably this part is the part that you already know. No, how the digital capitalism works. You know it more or less. Yeah, we have a lot of stories about that all the time. So in general, like the system of digital capitalism is based on debt. Yeah, debt. So no, like every capitalism is based on debt. So it has to grow. No? There is this growing and expansion. So when the Earth was conquered, already whole space was conquered, they said what we can conquer, where we can expand. And this is when this new paradigm appeared of data. No? This virtual reality. We don't have any more regular reality, physical reality to conquer. So we need new reality, and they started conquering this virtual reality. So it's like this new territory of accumulation, no? And this is digital accumulation. So quite recently there is this author, Shoshana Zuboff. Have you heard about her? Okay, so she started talking about surveillance capitalism. This is kind of economy based on extraction. and mercantilizing of data. And yeah, of course, it makes that like the gap between people that have power and people that don't have power, it grows. You know? So it's based on the idea that if you want to accumulate something, you need to have it more and more. So where do you get this data? No? And this is why they have to survey. This is why they have to observe and you know what? Record and store all the data. No? So then this data is also being used. No? Maybe it's not being sold directly, so the income doesn't come from directly selling the information or users' data, because this is too precious, so nobody wants to sell it really. No? But they sell services, no? Like ads and stuff. So they get clients that they say, oh, I can give you some nice advertising, really well targeted based on this data. No? And also this gathering information, accumulating of digital information. There is the other author, Tiziana Terranova. She started speaking about free labor maybe at the beginning of 2000. So it's like really long time ago. And what she says is that okay, there was like she focused much more on the labor and on work patterns. And she said, okay, there is free labor. So these companies, these big corporate type companies, right? They have very few employees. For the capital they generate, they have very few employees. How is that possible? Because they exploit people's work, and these are users. Yeah. So they base the incomes or the economy on this free not paid, unpaid, but also free as voluntary work of users. And this is the users that bring the economical value. Okay, so you know those guys? I'm talking about those guys, yeah? I say guys and kind of on purpose, because usually these are white privileged guys, yeah? Okay, so I would like to talk shortly about the beginnings of this value accumulation and value mining and all these things, and it's PageRank. Do you know what PageRank was? PageRank. Yeah. So it was like the way that Google started positioning the results.
Value of the cost, but then not the money, but
popularity,
relevance of a website.
Yes, exactly.
And the highest rank, as I know, is set manually for Google's for top websites like Wikipedia and Google itself.
So the problem was that before there was indexing, and people manually would have to index, the websites. It was the beginning of the web, more or less. So then they said, hey, all these results are flat. We need to position. We need to prioritize in some way. And then the Google said, okay, so let's maybe check. Like our machines don't know how to check the value or the meaning of those, the importance of those links of these different websites. Our machines cannot do it. Who can do it? People can do it. So now this is this value of attention, of human attention, where the human attention goes. And they found out that if they count how many times you put some link, or some people put some links, then this is this value, it's important. So this is the beginning, this is the PageRank. And then, so this data, this gray flat data stopped being so flat. And then we start having some values on it. And we start having this attention economy going on. Then, it developed more like network value, so it's not that much important how popular is something, but also who gets related with whom, and this relation between different items. So this is the paradigm that kept going and going and going and growing, and this is the most important paradigm of this digital economy at the moment. So this is why these big digital platforms are offering these free services. Yeah, you get the point. Like you are being used as free labor For example, for training the artificial intelligence. I don't have picture. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. CAPTCHA, do you know CAPTCHA? When you're being this free labor for Google. No, the CAPTCHA, training the artificial intelligence, saying, oh, this is a car, oh, this is a number, oh, this is, yeah, so this is this free labor. But also, when we think about this PageRank and saying, wow, we need to go to this more social value, no? Because this is where the interest is, not data about cattle, you know, it's data about people and what people want, because this is how we can sell things. So they started thinking more about social relations, and this is how actually there is one company that was really good at that, and they managed to get incorporated their own value measures in most of the websites. Do you have idea what is that? This labor that you're doing for this company all the time, most of the people. It has this blue square form, and usually it says F in the middle, and it says share or like. So this is how they acquire this information about what is important to people, no, and what social they want to share and with whom and how, no. So yeah, you get the idea of the free labor and how this big digital capitalism or surveillance capitalism or capitalism of attention works. Yeah, it's kind of obvious, but sometimes it's good to remind how it works. So the thing is that sometimes we forget about very important implications, because we say, oh yeah, but you know, for all the services that Google gives me, I don't mind if they put sometimes some kind of publicity and advertisement. No? We have this kind of thinking that, oh, it doesn't matter, oh, if it's just some ads, I don't care. Yeah? But there are some important things that we often forget. And there is, for example, ecological impact. Not many people talk about that, and I think it's really important because we all share the planet, and it's, as you imagine, it's not going well at the moment. And okay, so this big picture above, it's Tower Reno, which is like big data center or big, it's not even data center, it's like I don't know the name, campus or like big area, no, technological area in the United States, in Nevada, and it is like 400 kilometers square. Yeah, it's kind of big, and it has like 5 power plants inside. Yeah, so this is a lot of energy needed. This is a lot of wastage. This is a lot of pollution. And why? No, why? Of course, these are these big companies getting their data centers there. So, talking about this picture, I want to remind you that this surveillance and this data accumulation, it has an impact. If you don't need to accumulate data to spy on people, you're allowed to remove data. All these companies, they don't allow to. They say, oh, we can hide some information, that we will never remove it. And it has cost, it has ecological cost. And also, more like neo-colonialism. For example, when we think about wastage, you know, this e-waste, that usually these are not rich countries that are taking care of this waste. Yeah? We delegate it to poor countries, as well as a lot of pollution and production. And also, it's nice to think about such things. Also, there are like important social implications. It's growing, like this digital capitalism grows the desigualdad. Inequalities. And for example, there is like censorship. It's one of thousands of examples, no? That sex workers, they get their content censored by Google because they are kind of much sexist, no? So from one day to the other, they just block access to your data. Why? Well, because we don't like that. Yeah, this could be one kind of this oppression, no? Oppressing of some kind of classes or ideas or ways of living that they don't want to support, no? And there are like tons of yeah, there are loads of implications. So you know, like social sorting, which goes to, because all this data is being sorted by algorithms, and then it goes, yeah, they do profiling with that, and then they can sell better information. So it leads to more inequalities. Maybe it's worth mentioning like this creating dependency. If you need to accumulate a lot of data, you need people never to stop using your app or your services, your free services. So people that develop some technologies for Google or for Facebook or for some other companies like that, they, after leaving those companies, they admit that they have developed those technologies in purpose to generate psychophysiological dependency. For example, like button. It was developed to generate dependency. Yeah? Because when every time you get a like from someone, you get this shot of dopamine. It's like drugs. It's like taking drugs, and it makes you dependent on that. So then it's like you need more and more and more, and you can never leave the app.
On BBC some weeks ago I saw an article about this kind of people, and it was quite medical article. Yeah. So it's interesting.
It's been a while already that some people started talking about that, especially from Google and Facebook. Yeah, there are a lot of different kinds of implications. Maybe I will not, like, I have a list that is really, really long. I just chose some of them here, but so my question is why, if all these things are there, why we don't realize that we are being exploited, that we are fucking up the Earth, no, the planet Earth, that we should take care of it and not. So why we don't realize that? No? And my idea is like, no, I'm really curious about why people generally don't think about all these things, no? So my idea is like, first of all, okay, there are some there's a concept of cognitive metaphors, and it's a theory that says that we understand even the most difficult abstract things on the basis of our bodily everyday experiences. Yeah, this is like this cognitive metaphor. So when we think about God, it ends up being like being something big, something close, something warm, something, no, like this kind of very tiny elements. So these are cognitive metaphors. And for me, these are like two big metaphors that apply, that are being used in order to make us not think about these implications. And one idea is that when we think about surveillance, we have this old paradigm of surveillance that is this one. This guy with mustache, with some some prism, some telescope or whatever, watching someone, no? And this is not really the case at the moment. Surveillance at the moment is not that. Surveillance, no, because we think, oh, they will not spy on me, and I will be fine, and nothing will happen to me, and so it's wrong. Like, we are being spied all the time because these are machines, algorithms, that are spying all the time, and not someone that would have to put his attention on us. And the other cognitive metaphor is this one, that we are used to the idea that this material part of maintenance of things that we need are for granted. We take them for granted. We don't have to pay for it. It's just there. We don't have to think. It's better if we don't think about, oh, who's cooking, and no, like, or who's eye rolling. No, this idea of hidden, invisible work, which is still being discussed by feminists, that half of the society is supposed to do this invisible work. This is like the same idea, that this maintenance, taking care of material part is invisible. I mean, we don't need to think about that. So, as feminists, they say, hey, you have to pay for this work, and you have to recognize the value of this work. So, as they could do it, maybe with these digital services, we should do just the same. No? And if we think that, oh, Google is like this big, great mother for us and gives us all these things for free and we deserve it, we should think that if we want to have more equalitarian relations, then maybe we should support those people, sometimes there are women also, doing all these works. So, yeah, digital capitalism thinks about the capital and the machines in the center. No? The center is the capital, growing benefits and stuff. So they have this threat model. In digital security, we often talk about threat model. They say, what do you want to hide? This idea, like what do we need to defend from? What is the threat model? What we should defend from? Is borrowed from this digital capitalism. And yeah, the question is always, what do you want to hide? And why do you want to hide? And don't be evil, come on. If you're not evil, you don't have anything to hide. So as for me, from my point of view, this is capitalist, digital capitalism, and I don't like this idea. I would prefer, from my point of view, put life in the center, and persons, and the well-being. And when I do this, and take into account all these implications, and stop closing my eyes for that, and I realize, okay, it's there, we have to do something about that, then the question is different. And the question is, what do you want to share and with whom? And I think this is the question that I will leave to my friend.
Thank you, Elena. I think we need to change.
Do you have any questions? Meanwhile, please switching things. No, we'll leave that for later, no?
Yeah, we can do later.
Yeah.
Well, this puts an ambitious level of what the CommonsCloud should be, right? To solve all those problems that Elena just exposed. This is far too challenging. Well, one thing to start with would be, we go with free software, of course. That's also the reason why we're here with you together, right? Free software would be one of the components to solve this huge challenge that we have ahead of us. But free software is here with us for decades and decades, since the beginning of the software industry. So let's first take a look at what are our experiences, very briefly, with web services for sharing, collaborative work from the free software domain that many of us have been working with. I guess you guys as well. And what's missing there? So, for example, we have been working with this weekend board to do kind of Trello, kind of agile task management. We have, of course, media wikis to run wikis. Very useful for many kinds of communities. We have Lumio to take collective discussions and decisions. We have Roundcube for web. We have tons of different things. WordPress for managing websites. But on any of these, if each of our organizations or communities sets up one of these services, or many of them, we need to have different user accounts to start with. So our users need to have one account for each of them, maybe. And if we want to work together with some other organization, then we should have an account on the other server as well. So that's one of the problems. And many of the organizations, maybe not yours, because you guys are supposedly experienced free software developers and system administrators, so that would be easy for you. But in many organizations that are positive about free software, they don't have IT people inside the house or have no solid contracts to maintain these systems up and running. So then, there are other services, like other systems like Cloud Run, who integrates tons of different free software web applications, and that just with one click you install them and you run them, and you almost don't need any system administration work to have access to lots of dozens of applications. So that's already a solution, but then still our users need to get used to one interface, another one, another one, another one. Well, so 40, 50 user interfaces? Not good, right? Same thing, similar thing, Sandstorm. You know it? Sandstorm? Yeah? Pretty good, right? Pretty good. It does more or less what Cloud Run does, but a little bit more secure. You have your control of your personal brain, where you have your application, each person can install them and can decide he or she to share the application with other people. So the starting point is pretty good, but still that doesn't really allow us a lot of flexibility and still has the issue of many user interfaces and difficult to integrate them really, if you want to. So we've been trying this with different collectives over the past year and a half, 2 almost, and so we're partially happy about it, but it was not the solution that we wanted for really providing an alternative to the major problems that Elena exposed before us. So there comes in CommonsCloud. It was January last year that Aleix, Kees and like a group of 10 people met in Barcelona, and we discussed, hey, we need to work on this, we need something else, and we need to do this collective because this is an enormous effort to do this. So we need to discuss on what kind of applications we want to choose, how do we run it, what kind of governance model, how do we become sustainable, how can we do this for a long time, and have a lot of people make the switch towards the free and privacy-aware and self-controlled alternative. So what we did, we built this alliance. This is the initial alliance. Like we have you and Dick, Giuseppe Ruiz is here, Free Knowledge Institute, I'm from them. We have the Barcelona Free Software Alliance and team. We have Collectic, a cooperative, Dimmons, research group from the Open University, CoopDevs, free software developers, La Yale Dats and Senka, Chris and Elena from there, Django, another cooperative in free software, Fempo Commons is the cooperative that some of us, like Chris, are also part of, which is like a platform cooperative that unites users and producers, workers, to work on commons-oriented alternatives. And I didn't mention La Madrids. So then from these groups we have a driving team where we develop and meet weekly on how we develop this alternative. So we have the driving team, we have the alliance, and then the outside circle is the users and collectives, individual and collective users. Our vision is this: we select together the best free software collaborative applications that we can find. That requires a lot of work to keep up to date. We deploy it and maintain an integral service of these tools. We put them in the hands of the users. So the users become also the owners of the platform, of the cooperative. That's why we use the Fempo Commons, I will tell you later. The users become the owners, are co-responsible for the platform. Together we organize training workshops to empower the people, to use the tools, to get to know the tools and the methodologies that are possible if you use these tools well, like agile, working together, for example. Then we build this platform together with the alliance that I just mentioned. We document everything to share the knowledge and experience to make it really replicable, so that this can become a decentralized experience that other cities and communities can replicate here and internationally. And we want, our end goal is to maximize the social and technological sovereignty. Big words, but that's basically what we work on, to remedy as much as we can the problems that Elena exposed in the beginning. So we started with a selection of 3 platforms that we consider we have been testing in various environments as very appropriate, solid ones to make a start. For an online office where you have like your documents, your calendars, your contacts, and share and work online on your documents, we use Nextcloud. Well, I guess you all know Nextcloud, basically, right? Nextcloud is the best that we consider as an alternative to Dropbox, Google Drive, if you add, especially if you add online office options to that. But then again, there we need a lot of experience and testing. We've started with Collabo Office to add that to the Nextcloud, but we also are seeing the limits and possibly we go to only Office. We heard people having very positive experiences about that, so that's one of the things. We have a project management site. We're using Fabricator, a platform came from the Facebook engineers, right? Runs free software. It's used in Wikimedia and KDE community. I think, you know Fabricator? Who knows it? So what it does is like a platform like GitHub or GitLab, but it adds quite some options there for social technical teams. So it's not only developing code, you can, but you can also do agile project management. You can add a lot of applications, and each team can self-manage what kind of applications and how he wants to build up his menu for his team. And then the third one is the Agora, is the discussion or debate space. We use Discourse. We're setting it up now, but Discourse is one of the interesting platforms, I think, for doing email and web-based discussions. This is the starting point. You made what I said before. We wanted to have unified user accounts, single sign login. So what we did is, does this work? Is this live? No, that's not good. Okay. We have an LDAP directory server where we manage the onboarding of users so that people can say, hey, I'm from that collective, and then in the collective, then that collective can administrate the users if they're validated or not in that collective. And then each collective can have, besides universal access to the main servers, can also have additional servers that you can manage with the LDAP directory. We have the master that's replicated in each of the application servers, so the projects, the Officina, the Agora, and they're all backed up regularly. Nightly, is that?
Yeah.
Nightly, right? Yeah. So that's what we have set up right now. That's already there. To be improved many things, but that's the basic thing is there. Our vision is this, in a very short run, to be able to offer with this shared account server, to be able, as I said, that you can manage the collectives, so one user can be part of different collectives. So you can be part of this cooperative that runs a newspaper, or some other that runs a bank, or another company that runs a consultancy service, whatever. Each user using customer or user collective can then have different dedicated servers and that are only available to his or her users, right? So these are like the universal services, the public services from the CommonsCloud, those three platforms, and then on top of that you can have the additional dedicated servers from your collectives, basically. So that's the service value proposition that we have for this year. That more or less makes sense so far? So what I said is a screenshot from the Fabricator platform. We already have several projects that are beta testing. This is the Things Network Catalonia, which I'm also part of, and with our team, we have set up several groups. One main group that's open for the whole community, one driving team group, which is a subgroup that's only for the driving team, where we share passwords, for example, and strategic discussions. Hey, this will be a new member, new partner of our alliance. They want to do this and that, and then there's like strategic decisions that we can have like secret or only in the team, while the public discussion can take part in the public groups. For me it's a quite neat way of groups and subgroups, and each of them can have different applications. So here you can see you can have a chat, you can have a notepad, you can have files, you can manage members, you can have your wiki, inside or outside, you can have external links, of course, you can do surveys, well, like 30 or so applications are already included standard. And so, by using this platform, we have adapted our methodology. So we have been able to really do an agile methodology. You can define the columns the way you want. You say, well, here we do the backlog of the tasks, and then if it's a priority task, we do them in the to-do list, and then from there we move them to doing, and then we move them to done. And then the next time we meet, we start again. Hey, this is already done, so move to archive, and then start again. What's priority? Move it, move it. Well, go. We work on this. So then we organize our work. This is the way we use it in this team. So different teams can use it in their way, of course. So, wow, this is just another view of the activity that's going on there. So what I also like of this platform is that you get, well, your personal view of all the projects you are following, you're involved in, right? And all the sub-projects that you're part of. The next cloud, well, you probably know it, so you have your files, your calendar, and your contacts. That's the basic applications. On the laptop and on the mobile, we have this synchronizing tools. Works pretty neat. So the governance model, let's go there. So the governance of this project, we're evolving this governance because we started as just taking the lead and go for it, but now that we're really getting somewhere, we need to define this better. So this is the basic proposition. We have the cooperative FEMPO, which takes the lead and has various ways to get involved. Organizations can become collaborating members. So that's like a formal way to become a partner of the cooperative. People who work and want to make money with the work that they do individually can do so as workers, right? Can be socios de trabajo, like in Catalan. How do you say that? Working partners? Yeah, but it's individuals, right? So you can have organizations, you can have individuals. And then you have the users. They can become co-owners by just depositing once 10 euros. With 10 euros, you're co-owner. It's like, take some energia, take some conexión, you pay 100 euros, in our case it's 10 euros. 10 euros once, you get it back when you go away. And on top of that, of course, there's a service fee that you need to pay every month or every year, what you want. So that's what FEMPO Communs is, the cooperative that offers this legal infrastructure for us, so that we can run our project in a collectively rather complex way. You can see that, but I think it caters for the things that we want to do. So we are a business unit within the cooperative. Right? So here's a roadmap, tentative. We made it this morning, have to be honest with you guys. We're in a rush to do everything. So last year we did testing, we did selection of the tools. Since March we're in the crowdfunding campaign. That will be the last slide of this presentation. In Conteo, and in parallel we're developing, setting up, deploying the different services and doing beta testing with the first users. But the real first user group will be the ones from the crowdfunding. It will be the pioneers, as we call them. The pioneers will get their user accounts just after the crowdfunding finishes. So we're counting June until September more or less to onboard all the people, and I think it's like 90 people right now that already backed the campaign. People and collectives, so I need to be honest, it's more than that. And then in the autumn, we'll start setting up, offering dedicated service for the collectives who want that. So for example, in the crowdfunding we have quite a few that are collectives and that I would say rather would like to have a dedicated server. Well, that's as in the architecture image you saw, we would be able to provide that. That's why in our work now we are trying to streamline the different services that we have them as Ansible playbooks all prepared so that we can efficiently deploy the different services when people ask for them. Okay. For next year we will have to consolidate our team and the services and growing the number of users, of course, and start with a process of freeing the schools, because the schools are of course critical in free software and free knowledge and in digital sovereignty. So schools, it's amazing, but they are all captured by, or many of them are captured by Google and other friends of them. Also, on our plans is to initiate, to give a more serious form for this decentralization. So if we're talking about CommonsCloud right now, we're doing it here in Barcelona. But at the same time, we have an international working group. And we are in discussion with people outside Catalonia to see when and how we could have different clusters in other places, or nodes if you want to call them. So we could like form a network. Well, we have to explore that about blockchain, if you can do more portable identity and profile. Also on our vision is to move the servers back to Catalonia, because we're not here, we have to confess. We want them here, we want them inside Gifinet, of course, but we didn't find a solid data center right now that could offer the quality of service that we wanted, and so we have like postponed that, and we hope to get there next year. And then 2020, a lot of improvements and more services. There are several services that we would like to add to this, of these 3 platforms that we have now. There will be a process of co-creation, of listening to the users, what they want, and together with them decide how much should it cost, what can we do, can we do that, okay, let's go for it, right? And do that in a decentralized way, maybe set up once a federation. So, we're on Goteo. You can go to goteo.cc/CommonsCloud and see the campaign. We surpassed the minimum threshold in the first round. That's a couple of weeks ago. And now we just started the second round, so we are around 10,000 euros contributions already. Our optimum, we go for an optimum of 15k. It's all like small bits to make this really happen. CommonsCloud, Fez alçado! That's what we say in Catalan. I think I leave it here, or I can put it back if you want. Does it make sense to you guys?
It was interesting.
Yeah?
Actually, I like this idea. It's the reason why I come here to listen to in person.
Mm-hmm.
But email services?
Not yet. We could add it.
It's a critical service for
I
the
agree. I agree.
plain user.
Yeah, it's also a complex service.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we can offer it with partners already. Lamar the Bits, for example, offers it. They're in the alliance. So we could offer it, but maybe we should prioritize it.
And the data center with Ethernet. Ethernet is a centralized network.
Yeah.
They doesn't have a data center as a seat.
Different operators have data centers, and the foundation has a cluster in the Zona Franca.
Yep.
Yep. Wow, yeah, so we have some servers within in the Gifinet network. Well, as I said, we prioritize to do that in the
A data center is very expensive to maintain and to.
Oh, we don't need to be the owner of it.
And how you pretend to pay the bills?
Like any data center that you hire, a commercial data center. I mean, in Gifinet there are people that are running small data centers and people that have plans to make more serious data centers. So if those actors have a proven service, we can start migrating.
They must contributing.
Yeah,
But
pay for it,
pay
of course. No, we pay,
It's
we
like
pay.
okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Not like the users pay for the cost, and one of the costs is the data center hosting, and another cost is of course the personnel to deploy all this, and training and communication, every hosting, right? We are bootstrapping this because we don't really, we invest our own time for many people inside this, and we have a little crowdfunding campaign there running, but yeah, we do it without bank loans, but it still costs money.
The personal quota is 10 euros per month.
Yeah, we're talking something like that. Yeah.
And
The better, the more money, the better we can pay, this more serious service we can provide from our staff. But yeah, so something like that. Yeah.
And the disk quota.
Oh yeah, I can tell you, it's on the there is this contribution on the Godeo campaign. That's the more exact numbers that you can say. For 40 euros, you will have a basic account for 1 year. That's really cheap, huh? Because it's doubling. It's matching. It's match funding. The municipality is doubling it. Well, it's like ending, but. For 70 euros you have like 5 gigabytes, for the 40 you have 1, for the 70 you have 5. And for 100 you also get 2 tickets for the barbecue. Don't miss that one.
It's a vegetarian barbecue, right?
Yeah, we'll do both. We'll do both, but it will be a good party. It will be fun. So yeah, the 100 euro is the best option you can get, value for money. But hey, for collectives we also have other options, like a pack of 5 or 10 accounts, and we also have smaller options, and you can say I just want to give some money but I don't want an account. That's also possible. But having said that, these are not the final prices for the quota for the month, so that's more or less around the 10 euro. We'll have to fine tune if what that exactly includes, the 10 euro. If that will be 1, 5, 10 gigabyte, etc. Right? What kind of service level you can expect.
And for schools it will be free.
No.
Okay,
No, I thought that free as in you're the product. I think that's the business model that's from the past, right?
The problem is
we're getting now in an era that we know how terrible it is to have the service really for free.
The problem is right now in the schools,
Yeah.
Google is doing all free for the schools.
Yeah.
So they have unlimited quota of this. So you have to work a lot.
Oh yeah. So this depends on people that are aware of the problems. This depends on parents, school teachers, who say, hey, we cannot do this. It cannot be that my children are getting an email and I'm not an email address from Google. I'm not even, as a parent, I'm not even signing for it. Even if I would, but they're like obliged to go this way, right? So that's really, there are many people getting nervous about this. So I expect that at some places people will say, hey, we want to get some budget for this. It's not much either, but you need to have budget.
And about this subject, schools are tied to in Catalonia, are tied to Generalitat or every city council.
Yeah.
And every city council and every government have contracts with Google, with Microsoft, with companies that they won't lose the contract for any reason.
That includes fighting, yes, of course. It's activism on one hand, on the other hand, expose the illegalities and the abuses that these guys are doing. I mean, if somebody signed this contract and nobody's complying with the basic rules about child protection with data, that's really serious. I think we can make people nervous about this if you go into the details. That's one. And yeah, so there could be support from the Generalitat one day, and there could be just to start with support from some schools that say, hey, we have people that have tried this and they are aware of it, and we have some money and we take a step, right?
There's a question there.
Yeah.
So I actually have two questions. So the first question was, who's this targeted at? Is it like, because like me as a geek, I could set up all these things myself. It would be much cheaper for me to run it than you for
Are you
running.
sure?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cheaper. Maybe not time cheaper, but it would be cheaper, right?
It costs you a lot of time, man.
No.
Your time is not free either.
It's in time, right?
Yeah.
It will be cheaper for me to run it. So I guess like you're targeting more like people that really don't know much about technology.
Well, I would say in the middle. First, we look for people who are aware of the need for free software and of the problematics that we talked about with Elena before, right? So conscient people, that's to start with, about these problems. And part of those conscient people are like you and can do it themselves. But then still, you can do an xCloud server. Yeah, of course. But you won't set up for yourself a fabricator, not even a Discord. Either you could do it, but why would you do it for just yourself? You do this for a collective. This is a collective enterprise. This is something to work together with people. So even, okay, Nextcloud is like, you can share between Nextcloud instances, so you could like work together. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's much more friendly if you're on the same instance. So there you go. So your organization or your collective wants one instance. So there you go. Who was going to take responsibility for that? I know quite a bunch of aware organizations that have a Nextcloud instance, but they're not really using it. Yes, nobody's taking care of it, and Google Drive always works. So there you go. So there we go back to start, right? So that's part of the vision of the target groups. We work with people that are aware of these problems, that want to work together, that are aware of the need for free software and privacy protection, and have and understand that we need to do this together, and that we need to co-own this. So then you have like 3 levels if you want. Well, cooperativism, free software, digital sovereignty, and privacy awareness. Those are like the basic elements.
Right. The other question is a bit more. So basically, she mentioned, right? Like we're being the product, so we have to pay for it, right? So I agree, and I have money to pay for it, so that's fine. But what about people that don't, right? Like if there's lots of people in this city, country, called what we want, that they can't actually spend €10 a month to get access to a Dropbox-like solution. So we tell them, like, you're evil? Like,
no.
What do we do with them? Like, you go to them, it's like, sorry about you, you're a bad person?
So no, of course, no, that's a very good point actually. To start with, the project platform, if you register at gen.commercecloud.com after the Rodeo campaign, we'll probably give you a free account. And you can access to the fabricator. Well, no, but you will. And it's already necessary, not only for the case you're mentioning, but for each of the communities around here, like the Things Network. In June we run a hackathon. People that want to join need to be able to have an account. And who's going to pay for it? Oh, so we thought this is a collective service. You contribute to a collective project. Here's that. Having a free account is quite important. If we would add a chat service to it, that's probably also a free service. Free, then maybe running on donation campaigns. Like, you know, the Framasoft campaigns, Des Glisons in France. They have a huge platform, much bigger than this whole proposal, running it for more than 10 years, and they have 300,000 users. Free donations, 300,000 euros a year. 300,000 euros a year and a collaborative network, they're able to run that. Agora, to be part in a discussion and have support channels and all the things in the discourse instance. You need to have a free account possibly as well for it. But the Nextcloud, yeah, there it's clear that you want to pay for it. That's more easy to understand maybe. Maybe what we're considering that maybe very small storage level is for free, and then there you go. And this is a collective enterprise. So if we consider that there is a bunch of people that really don't have money, we can talk with a social organization and say, hey, this is a problem. You guys need to donate specifically for this user group. We can find a solution. Okay? More.
The LibreOffice is integrated with Nextcloud.
Yes, in the case that we're running right now is Collabora Office. Collabora Office is integrating LibreOffice, right? That's what we're running right now. We're running against a wall as well. So we might consider changing to only Office, which is not LibreOffice, but it's allowing better, more effective online document editing.
Should we break out and go to the kitchen where there's beer and we can discuss things with a more casual setup and yeah, let's do that. Well, thank you.